Hello friends, what's up? Namaste to everyone. Friends, in today's session we are going to see support project and Q&A session. So friend, before starting today's session, I would like to say today's quote which goes like this. If people are doubting how far you can go so far that you can't hear them anymore. So with this note, I would like to start today's session. So, friend, in last session we have covered SAP methodology and we have seen the five phases under SAP methodology. So, before starting today's session, which is on support project, I would like to just give you a small brief recap about the processes that we have already covered under SAP methodology. So, friend, in SAP methodology, we have seen that there are five phases and it starts with project preparation. And the example that we have taken was of Walmart is a client and implementation partner is Deloitte. So Deloitte is IT company, so it will basically it has Walmart has approached different IT companies, and out of them they have finalized that okay, Deloitte is going to deliver or install SAP to them. So basically, then once they will start doing so, they will follow this ASAP methodology, and with this help of this methodology, they will install SAP. So basically, we have seen the five phase which comes under ASAP methodology starts with the project preparation phase, where the initial planning is done and the consultant will not involve there. So basically, what we have seen in that phase, we have seen that like the what kind of license they have to purchase, how many server they have to purchase, what is the facility is going to be, and then we have seen that what is the go live date, starting date, all these basic things are discussed in the first phase, which is the project preparation phase. So basically, in short, the initial planning is done in that phase. And then we have gone to the second phase, okay, which is the business blueprint phase, BBP. So in that, we have seen that basically the consultant will go to the client place and then he'll go with a particular questionnaire DB and he'll ask question from that, and then as per that he has to prepare a couple of document which consist of BBP and the gap analysis document, and after completion of everything he has to get the sign off, and after sign off this particular phase will come to an end. Then after that we have seen that the third phase, basically the third phase is the realization phase. So under realization phase we have seen that we first time we hit the system, as in we start doing the configuration. So basically whatever we have gathered the information, we start configuring the same thing in SAP system. So there we have seen that we do configuration which is like baseline and final configuration, and everything related to that we do. Then now we have seen the fourth phase, which is very important phase, and which is the final preparation phase. So basically under that we do the testing like unit testing, integration testing, and after that we give training to the client or the core user basically, and then we do this UAT activity wherein the client will do the UAT, user acceptance test, and he has to give the sign off. So after sign off, what we do the cutover activity wherein we upload the data from non-SAP to SAP system, and there are a few activities that we do. um, After that completion of that activity, after the cutover activity, we have seen that last phase is the go live and support. So in go live and support, what happened? Go live is basically that the day from which the um, client or the user will start using SAP. So that was the whole process we have seen under ASAP methodology. So that's a brief, just I wanted to um, take you to the whole ASAP methodology once, and then it is a continuation of that. So that's why it will always be better if you have a basic understanding of that. Now coming to the support project. See, once the ASAP methodology is done and the client has start using SAP on a day-to-day basis, then in future they'll get some issues, right? Issues are nothing but whatever stops their transaction on a daily basis, right? So if they get some issue, they will have some ticketing tools. So ticketing tools are like wherein they log the issue, and as per the issue log, it will basically go to the support partner basically. So for example, in this scenario, to show you in an easy way, so for example, we have seen that Walmart is there, and Deloitte is has implemented SAP to Walmart, right? So once the implementation is done, everything is done, and then Walmart has start using on a day-to-day basis. So after implementation, later, let's suppose after 3 or 6 months, or first 3 months, they anyhow Deloitte will give a after say like support activity. They'll give in go live and support in the SAP methodology itself. They will give 3 months of support. So after that, what will happen? Either Walmart can go with Deloitte itself as a support, because initially it's a implementation partner who has implemented, but then later it depends upon Walmart whether they want to continue with Deloitte for the support activity going forward, or they want to change it and give it to somebody else, let's suppose Accenture or Deloitte, sorry, IBM, right? So let's suppose they want to go with Deloitte itself for the support also. So what will happen? They will get into some agreement, okay, and after that this activity will start. So we'll go in detail and see what all happens in that support project. So most of the places, if you see nowadays, everyone or most of your friends who are in SAP already, you will find that there are a lot of support project which is going on, and they know that basically they have to resolve the tickets and all. So we'll see in details about that also. So friend, basically, we'll start with this roles and responsibility of consultant in support project. So basically, what happens, friend, that in support, we resolve the issue raised by the client who has already implemented SAP. So that's what I told. For example, Walmart, they have already implemented SAP. So now they have basically they have done an agreement with a support partner, wherein they will decide that okay, this is the level of priority and everything. So basically they will have this SLA. So it's a very important term. Sometime it is asked in the interview also, that what is SLA. So SLA is nothing but service level agreement. So service level agreement is nothing but whenever a support partner, the support partner is, let's suppose, Deloitte, right? He gets a new project, so he has implemented and he is also going to give support to Walmart. So whenever he gets a new project, or with, let's suppose, Walmart itself, they are going to give the support. So both the client and the support partner, it means the Walmart and Deloitte, they will enter into an agreement, okay, which is nothing but service level agreement. So basically what will happen in this is that they will decide that from SLA, basically what we'll do, that we'll get to know the level of priority, okay, information of the priority of the issue. Because see, let's suppose uh, Walmart is using has started using SAP, so their users are will be using it, right? So they will be getting some issue. So now it depends like what kind of issue is this. Maybe it can be very critical, or it can be high, medium, low. So as per that itself, how many like low. If it's a low, then it may be resolved in 72 hours or some time frame they will decide. Both of them will get into some consensus that okay, this is a low priority, it can be solved in 2 to 3 days. If something is very high priority, okay, then it has to be solved immediately, because if it's a high or critical, then it may be like it is hampering user day-to-day transaction, so they cannot go forward before until unless that issue is resolved. So that's a high priority, and it requires immediate action. So the time for resolving, or though you can say that uh, we say that the time taken to resolve the issue, is decided under that SLA. So the level of priority and how much time should be assigned to each level of priority is decided. So it may be high, medium, low. So we say that L1, L2, L3 is the term given. Okay, in every organization, again, it differs. So if somebody calls it severity 1, severity 2, severity 3. Somebody say it's level 1, level 2, level 3. Okay, so normally level 1 is high, level 2 is medium, and level 3 is low, like that. So again, it also depends upon the company how they get into an agreement and what they decide. But then it is across similar, like if it's a high, then it has to be immediately resolved. Again, timeline can be mutually decided by the support partner and also the client. So if it's a, let's suppose, a very high or critical, it can be decided that it has to be resolved in 8 hours. Okay, and if it's a medium, maybe 24 hours. Okay, and if it's a low, maybe 48 or 72 hours it has to be resolved. Okay, so that's all about the service level agreement. Now, one more thing which comes into play, which is used very commonly in support, is the change request. So change request is nothing but if a client is requesting any new change or new configuration for which there is no present configuration in the system, then we, it's not then, that is then we treat it as a change request. Whenever we get change request, we need to prepare change request document. So basically what happens, friend, in change request is like, let's suppose you have, there is a request by the client itself that they want a particular field or something which is not there in standard. So for that, what we tell the client, or we basically discuss with the client, and then what happens that if there is no present configuration in the system, then we whenever we get the change request, we need to prepare this document. So we treat it as a change request because there is no present configuration in the system. Okay, it's not there in standard. And then what happens that we need to prepare change request document. So that this document is basically consist of issue description, that is the ticket details, then the expected solution, how much approximate efforts is required, and the man days. Okay, how many days it is required, like the functional how many and technical how many days. So all these things are decided here. So that is about the change request. Now, friend, we'll see the overall process of a uh, of a in any organization whenever they get some issue. Okay, so how everything happens from top to bottom, we'll see. So basically, let's suppose famous ticketing tools are like, I'll tell you a couple of them. So for example, ServiceNow is one. Okay, and then there is BMC Remedy. So these are used by a lot of you know organization. And then what happens that, let's suppose there is a customer. So it all starts that your customer, let's suppose Walmart is there. Okay, so they have the end user, so he'll be using it. Let's suppose he's using it, then suddenly he found that there is some issue. Okay, so what will happen, he'll just go to that service now, and he'll log that issue in that particular service now tool. Then what will happen that here I have just written like issue login some ticketing tool, right? Ticketing tool can be service now or BMC Remedy. So after that, what happen, it goes to the support as POC, which is nothing but single point of contact. So after that, what will happen that he'll assign it to the respective module consultant. So it can be like maybe a team lead in Deloitte. Let's suppose he will. So till now it was found by the Walmart end user. He has issued it, like he has logged in that ticketing tool, ServiceNow, or let's suppose BMC Remedy. It goes to support coordinator, and then from there it reaches to that whatever you call it, like your team lead or directly your head or whatever. So then what will happen that from there we'll just check that whether the level of priority is correct or not. Maybe he has, it's a low priority, but then he has put by mistake or intentionally it is a critical. So you have to check it and everything is fine. Then you start working. If some changes you require, then what will happen? You have to, tell to the or you just send it or assign it back to the user and tell them to correct the priority. And then what will happen that after you acknowledge it, because first you need to acknowledge you receive the ticket, but then after that you need to acknowledge it that yes, I have received and I've started working. So once you acknowledge it, then the clock will start. So because see, every ticket has some timeline, right? So for example, if it's a critical, then within 8 hours you have to resolve. So let's suppose he has logged this issue, and then there is some time given to basically acknowledge it, and after acknowledgement then your time will start. So let's suppose it 8 hours, so within 8 hours you have to resolve it, otherwise what will happen that it will go for a escalation or something. So then what will happen basically after acknowledgement, whether it's a level 2 or level 3, level 4 or level 1, whatever. So then what will happen that we start working on that ticket. So there will be different status of the ticket. Maybe you have received, it's a open status, then you will change it to in progress or being progress, something of that sort. Then if you have already worked on that ticket or resolved, then you put it like waiting for confirmation or waiting for testing or something of that sort. So anyhow, we'll discuss on that also. But then first we'll see this whole process. So till now, what we have seen that he has already logged it, we have acknowledged it, and then what will happen that we start working on that ticket. So see, he will face the issue in development server. So as I have, sorry, in production server, because customer will be using it in production. As I have already told in last session, there are different server, right? Like development, quality, and somewhere it is used pre-production and then production. So we'll take standard. So we'll consider, let's suppose, only three, right? So it's development, quality, and production. So here the user is working. Okay, you have no idea what's happening here because here only user will work, right, in this server, and he receives some issue. He'll tell you that okay, or he logged basically in this ticketing tool. Then what will happen, you will start working on that ticket. So first of all, whatever issue he has faced, you have to see that you have to replicate it, right? That this issue is there and where exactly this issue is coming, so then only you can resolve it. So let's suppose the issue basically whatever he has faced in production, you don't have the access. So sometime you will have access, but then you will only have the viewing access, you can't do anything. So what will happen that you will first replicate in pre-production server. So as I told that most of the company use 4 server also. So like after quality there will be pre-production where you can just replicate the same issue. So it's a kind of a mirror copy of production server. So you will replicate, and if the same issue comes, then what will happen, you'll go to development server and you'll resolve. Because see, any changes that you have to do, you have to do it in development server, and then after fix you have to move it to quality, then pre-production, or then in the end production. Okay, so first you found the issue just for checking that okay, this issue is happening at this place or whatever, then you are using it in a pre-production server. Then you have found the issue, then you start working or on that issue in development or correcting that issue in development. Okay, so let's suppose you have corrected whatever issue is there and you have fixed it. Then what will happen, you will basically do a round of testing, because you have to also test, right, if it's working fine or not. So after that testing and everything, you will move it to quality, and then you will do a round of testing, and then you will tell your user that okay, now it's working fine, you also retest from your side. So he will also retest, and then you will move it to production. Okay, so the process is almost same that we have already seen it, but then I just wanted to give you a whole picture, holistic view of it. So that's why I'm telling you in this much detail. Then friend, what will happen? He'll start on working on that ticket. Now, see, if there is some clarification required from the customer, then what we'll do is that from from Deloitte side, what we'll do from Deloitte side, we'll again mention it like this is the clarification we required, right? And we'll change the status of the ticket again, and we'll assign it back to the user, like waiting for confirmation or something. So let's suppose he has given the clarification everything, then we'll work on that resolution. As I told that the resolution thing will happen in development server, because it will start from the fix and everything will start from development again, and then after that you'll advance it to customer testing. So first you'll do a basic testing from your side in development, you will move to quality, and then again you'll do some testing there, and then everything is working fine, then you'll tell the user okay, it is working fine, now you test it. Then he'll do a testing round of testing. If everything is working fine, then you'll move it to production, and you'll also basically close that ticket, right? So that's all about the whole process of a ticket. In any organization, this is like it's a standard process. I've told you, maybe organization by organization there may be slight change happen here and there, but then this whole training that we are seeing, everything is as per the standard. Now there is another term which is commonly used. This is KT. KT is nothing but knowledge transfer. So knowledge transfer, what is knowledge transfer? So when all the consultant go to client place for knowledge transfer, core user will hand over the config document to the consultant, and consultant has to go through the configuration document and simultaneously do the system study. Okay, and after the system study, consultant has to prepare understanding document. After understanding document, consultant has to give reverse KT to core user, and the tenure for KT is 15 to 20 days. So basically what happened, friend, so let me give you a very small and simple example. So since we are taking example of Walmart and Deloitte, so we'll stick to it. So because it becomes easy. So since I'm giving one example, something you can visualize. So I'm saying something and I'm giving some examples so you can visualize it easily. Okay, this is how it's happening. So that's why I'm just taking the same example every time. Okay, with different process. So here we have Walmart and here we have Deloitte. So Deloitte has implemented, right, SAP to Walmart. But then what happened after implementation? The support project, it has gone to IBM, right? So IBM, from IBM, what will happen? Again, the consultant, okay, they will they'll have to see that what all things has been configured here, right? Because later they have to provide the support. So any issue comes, then they will handle it. So basically Walmart should have that configuration that is done by Deloitte. So Deloitte will, what will happen? They will prepare this config document, as we have already seen in last session in SAP methodology, that there are different documents we prepare, right? Like user manual, FS document, and then configuration document. So in configuration document, what we have seen that the step by step process of configuration and everything is mentioned clearly. So whatever the business processes are configured and everything, basically Deloitte will prepare and give it to Walmart. Let's suppose from Walmart the representative is the core user. So he'll give to core user. So now what will happen? That core user will have that particular document with him, or the, let's suppose Walmart will have that document with him. So now later they have given the project to IBM. So how IBM will know that what Deloitte has configured with this document, right? Because in that document everything will be mentioned. So they'll just go through that document. They will understand, okay, this thing, particular thing has been configured by Deloitte. So accordingly they can do their future analysis and everything. So that is what SKT is all about. That's why I have mentioned here that it's a knowledge transfer. Basically, core user is giving the document that is handed over by the Deloitte, okay, and he is giving it to the IBM. So it's a knowledge transfer that is they are doing. So that's why that, like, when all consultant, let's suppose from IBM, they'll go to client place for KT process. So core user will hand over that document to the consultant. Which consultant? The IBM who has come for support project. So the IBM consultant has to go through the config document and do this system study, right? In development server, they have to see that, okay, what all thing they have configured, what all configurations are there. So all these things they'll just go through. After system study, what will happen? They'll just prepare a understanding document, whether their understanding is correct or not about that particular document that is handed over the core user. So after the understanding document, consultant has to give a reverse KT somewhere. Sometime it happens there. So like you have what, whether you have understood it correctly or not. Okay, your interpretation is everything is correct, so you have to give a reverse KT to the core user, because if anything clarification required at this stage itself, at the initial stage itself, it can be corrected. So the tenure of the KT is normally 15 to 20 days. Again, it see, all these things can differ from organization to organization. It's nothing like hard and fast rule that it will be 15-20 days. It can again change here and there some days. Now the ticketing tools, as I told, as I already mentioned, Remedy is one, then ServiceNow, then HPQC, then Citrix, and then Jira, Peregrine. So these are few ticketing tools used in the market. And next is what is the use of these ticketing tools? So basically, this will help to track the ticket and its time. Okay, so that we have already seen. Now moving forward. So we were also discussing about the status of the ticket. So as we have seen that whenever the ticket, you receive a ticket, right? So in real time, what happens that let's suppose you'll get a mail. Okay, maybe to your group, the mail will come first. The ticket, let's suppose user has raised some issue. Okay, and they have logged into in that service now or BMC remedy. So what will happen basically, it will come to the your group. So from your group, your team lead will assign it to consultant as per, let's suppose, whoever. So let's suppose it is assigned to you. So then you'll just go through that particular ticket and everything, the description. So in ticket, the screenshot and everything will be there. So any clarification you require, you mention in the work notes. There will be work notes wherein if you want to, discuss something or you need some clarification, you can mention it and assign it back to the user. So if everything is okay, then initially the status of the ticket will be open. Let's suppose now you are clear that, okay, this is issue is there. You have seen the, let's suppose some attachment is there in that, so you have gone through the attachment and seen that, okay, this is the issue, yes, and you have understood. Then what will happen, you will change the status of the ticket to being processed. Okay, then you will start working on that and you will start rectifying and working on that particular ticket. Then if any, let's suppose in any, let's suppose any clarification you require from the user, then you will change again it to waiting for information, some information, let's suppose you require from the end user. So you will assign it again back to the user and change the state. There will be state drop down will be there, one field with state will be there, where you will be changing the state, right? And let's suppose user has again given the information, then you have fixed it, right? After fixing, what will happen, you'll assign it back to the user and you'll mention it like waiting for confirmation. So user has to do a round of testing and then he has to change the state to close if everything is working fine, right? So these are the states. Sometimes it is also asked in the interview also, so you should be aware about all this thing also. So working consultant, they must be knowing all this thing. So again, now coming to the next, which is the level of priority of ticket in support. So there are different, again, it differs, but then I have just mentioned three here, which starts with like high priority, medium, and low priority. So the timeline also depends upon that. If it's a critical, something which is as I mentioned, which is hampering the day-to-day transaction. So for that, we'll put it like high priority. The user will put it and assign it to you. And if it's something which is between some low and high priority, we mention like medium priority. Like for example, order, in while creating order, there's some issue happening. So it all depends again. And then there is low priority, like inquiry quotation. So all this thing will normally comes under low priority. So these are the few things which are important in support project, friends. So that's all from support project. And now we'll see the Q&A session related to whatever we have seen in SAP methodology and support project. Because normally that's what I do, friend. Every session that I cover, especially in SAP SD, I try to make sure that the folks who are seeing my video, they also prepare for the interview uh, side by side. So that is what will happen if you will just go through this question answer also. You can like for example, I'll be anyhow giving telling all these questions and giving you the answers also then and there for revision purpose. It will be definitely will be helpful to you. So let's start the session, friend, for the Q&A session. So the first question is like, what is your team size? Again, it depends from organization or the project also, right? What is your team size? If it's a domestic project, again, the magnitude of the project also matters here. So normally, let's suppose a 15 or 20 will be there. If it's a big project or if it's a MNC project, then it can also go to 60 or more than that. Next is, did you ever attend kickoff meeting? So we have seen that kickoff meeting, what all the agenda is there of kickoff meeting, friend. So the first session you can refer. We have went through the detail of the kickoff meeting. So you can mention that if you have attended. Then where is the client located? So client is located in dev server, right? Next is what you did on the first day of implementation of the project. So this kind of thing I have mentioned because sometime it happens like you should not be blank in the interview whenever these kind of questions are asked. So you should also prepare with these kind of questions. Next is what is your project tenure? Very like normally it is asked in every interview. So if it's a domestic, as I told, normally the tenure will be 9 to 12 months, and if it's a foreign project, then it's like 18 months or so. So next is on what basis you gathered requirement. So we have gathered basically requirement, as I told, in BBP phase. We have gathered requirement on QADB, like questionnaire database. So with that was the basis. Next is from which phase of SAP methodology you involved in implementation project. So as I told that the functional consultant will not involve from the first phase, which is the project preparation phase. Will basically involve from the BBP phase. Okay. Next, what are the activities they do in project preparation phase? So the project preparation phase, I have told, like initial planning is done. So there we decide or we discuss on how many servers, how many license has to be purchased, what are the facilities is going to be, when is the go live or start date is going to be, and then also, so these kind of basic planning, budgeting, everything is done, like sizing of the server where they need to kept and everything. These all things will be decided in the project preparation phase. Also the client details will be given, and your roles and responsibility, client roles and rules and regulation, everything will be discussed in this particular phase. Okay. Then next question is like, what are the documents you prepare in BBP? So we have seen that we prepared two documents. First is BBP document, right? And the second, we have seen that gap analysis document. So under BBP document, again we have two things. First is the as is document, right? And second is 2B. So it's a combination of both BBP. So like for this question per se, I can say two document, BBP and gap analysis document. Again, under BBP, you can say like we prepare two things like as is and to be, right? Now coming to next, like what is gap? So gap is something which is not possible in standard SAP. So as I have told, like couple of example, like for example, for free goods. So free goods is not possible in quotation, or free good is only possible one to one. So for example, if it's a X material, you can only give Y material as free good. So user is asking, let's suppose he wants two, three free goods with reference to the main item, like Y, Z, A, B, C. So it's not possible in standard. Yes, it is possible through the enhancement, but then for that you need extra budget and extra time. So like for a definition per se, gap is something which is not possible in standard SAP. Okay, now friend, next is, did you face any gaps in the BPP phase? So I have mentioned couple of them. If you have faced in your project something, so you can mention that. Okay, next, what is the tenure for BBP? So see, BBP is most critical. So normally, like more time are invested in that BBP phase. It goes from 3 to 6 months. Okay, and what is the most critical phase? So as I told, the most critical phase is BBP, right? And what is the reason why it is most critical? Because see, the whole success of your project depends like how perfectly you have collected the whatever information from your client. Because see, if you have not collected the information properly from the client, from there onwards you're going to configure it. So if the first hand itself you have not collected the information correctly, you'll configure, you'll not be able to configure properly, because if something issue is there, then the same thing you are going to configure, and later you will find those issues coming up. So that's why the success of project depends how perfectly you have collected the information. So the most critical phase in a SAP methodology, you can say it's a BBP phase, right? So that is one. And then how many modules you implemented? So again, it depends like what all modules you implemented on your project. So you can mention that, right? Next comes your, did you visit all the manufacturing plants of your client? So these kind of questions can also, did you visit depot, and also these are generic question, but then I have just mentioned it because you should not again I told like you should be ready for these kind of questions also, right? Even I have told first question as a kickoff meeting and all. So at least kickoff meeting agenda and all you should know. As I told, like in kickoff meeting, what all things are done, like introduction about the client, rules and regulation of the client, roles and responsibility of the consultant, core user list are given, go live dates are given, starting date, what is it's going to be. All these thing happens in that kickoff meeting. Okay. Now coming to the next question, which is like how many types of configurations we have. So we have two type of configuration. We have seen like baseline configuration and final configuration, right? So the details of baseline and final configuration, you can always refer that session that I've given. So in the last session I have told what is the details about that. Okay, now next is, do you have client in development server? Yes, we have, right? So as I mentioned, in development server we have clients, different client, right? We have a unit testing client, we have config client where you do configuration, then we have ABAP related like ABAP development client where the technical folks will do their development and all. So that is all. Now coming to the next, like what are the documents you prepared in realization phase? So in realization phase, as I told, like there are three documents basically. The user manual document, okay, wherein step by step everything you mentioned, like um, all the customer master and transaction and everything. Then the config document, and then FS, functional specification. functional specification document. Now coming to next question, like how many types of testing do we have? So we have two type of testing. One is unit testing, right? And other is integration testing. Unit testing is something which is specific to one module or function, and then integration is integration of all those, like different, like SDMM or SDFI, for example, credit management, third party, it requires integration and all, right? So that is the thing. And next is what is your role in transporting requests? So as a functional, what is your role? So as I told, like there is request, and under that there is task. Okay, so it's like parent and child. So first you release those requests, okay, and then what you do, we put all the request in that in a Excel with description, and then you give it to basis consultant, and what he will do, he'll move it from one server to another, I mean from dev to quality and all. So that is the thing. Next, what is the T code for importing request? So for importing, we have a T code called SCC1. Okay, we use, and then for releasing, what is the T code for releasing? So SC09. Okay, SC09 we use, and then also there is for transport. So import happens within the server, like from one client to another client, right? As I told, like within a server there are different client. So what is client? Client is basically a self-contained unit which has its own table, okay, and master data and everything, right? So so basically, as I told, like for example, there is unit testing client, there is a config client, there is ABAP development client. So if you want to move from one server, from one client to another client, basically it is called as import, right? And if it is from one server to another server, then it is called transport. Right? So for transport, there is a T code used as STMS. Right? So now next, how many types of requests do you have? So request, as we have seen that there are two types of requests. One is customizing request, another one is the workbench request. So customizing request is something whatever a functional consultant will configure, and they will save in that customizing request, right? And whatever technical consultant will do, or the ABAPer will save, or they will do, basically they will save in that workbench request. And also we have seen that workbench request is a cross client. Cross client means whatever configuration you will save in one client. So there is server, okay, and under server there is client. So for example, this is development server, there are different client, one, two, three. Okay, so in workbench request, what will happen, it is a cross client. So it means what does it mean? That whatever you will do in one server, sorry, one client, it will get saved in all other client within the server. So under this server itself, whatever clients are there, so it will get automatically saved. You don't have to import it and everything, right? Next is, what do we have in test case document? So test case document will have like everything, like what to test, okay, and how to test, and what is the expected result, and what is the test documentary number, and what is the actual result. So this kind of thing you will have under this test case document. Next, what is the purpose of preparing configuration document? So see, configuration document you prepare for knowledge transfer, that I told, right? For example, the example, with example, if you remember something, you will remember it for a longer period of time. So that's why example what I given. So I have given like Walmart is there and Deloitte is there. So Deloitte has implemented it, and they have given it for configuration, as like they have handed this configuration document to Deloitte, Walmart. Later IBM has come for support, so they will hand over, okay, they will basically hand over this to IBM, and this is called knowledge transfer, right? And basically here the everything they'll get to know, okay, they'll do some kind of system study, and they'll understand that okay, Deloitte has configured this thing. Okay, so that is the purpose of preparing config document, it is used for knowledge transfer, right? Next, what is the tenure for realization phase? So realization phase, normally it is 3 months. Okay. So let's suppose there is 15 team size. I've just given some random number, but then it depends like how many are SD. So normally this is asked, like the breakup is also asked in the interview, like how many SD, how many how many PP, like that. So you should be aware about that also, and you should go with that answer. Like how many core users do you have? So again, this is also, it can be asked, so you should go with that. So we are trying to cover as many, see few questions, you cannot prepare. Okay, sometime what happens that you have to be very spontaneous, so everything you cannot prepare, but then we are trying to cover as much as we can. Okay. Next, to whom you will give training. So basically you will give training to core user. Okay, for how many days you will give training? So normally it is 15 days. So how many times you will take sign off from core user? So there are, I have mentioned like 2 times, right? One is in BBP and another is your UAT sign off. Okay. What is your role in cutover activity? So cutover activity basically, like all the open transaction, master data, everything will be there, right? So for that, what we do, we run this LSMW or BDC. We take the help of ABAP also there, and then we try to upload the data from non-SAP to SAP, right? Also from client side, we'll get all the data. So the client has to give all the data, whatever they want to upload it from non-SAP to SAP. So they'll give, let's suppose, customer data, customer master data, whatever material master data that they were using in old system, in the legacy system. Okay, they'll hand over to us, and then in a particular format we have to put, anyhow we how we upload that we'll see in that LSMW or BDC. But then at this point of time, you just remember that whatever the data they will give, okay, you have to put it in a flat file and in a particular format, and then you have to upload it with the help of different tool like LSMW or BDC. And then what will happen, that the user will start using it in production with those data. Okay. So that is what we do. Also in quality server phase, basically in cutover activity also, we do some mock run and we see that everything is working fine. If everything is working fine, then we go to the production and then upload the same data. So these are few things that we do in cutover activity. So what is cutover period? So like there is some time, right? For those time we don't do any activity or any transaction, and that is called blackout period. And so these are see, cutover period is nothing but the time for which takes to upload the data from non-SAP to SAP. Okay, normally it happens on Saturday, right? And it takes 2 days. So for example, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday first half, it is completed if it starts on Saturday. Next, how many months we will support after go live? So go live, after that we support normally for 2 months. Again, varies from company to company. How many total documents we prepare in implementation project? So in implementation project we prepare a lot of document. So like for example, config document, user manual document, gap analysis document, BBP document. So there are these many documents we prepare in that implementation. Also FS documents, these are few documents. After go live, what we'll do? So after go live, we'll give some support, right? And on what basis we do configuration? So we do basic the configuration based on the documents that we receive, right? Because we'll prepare that as is and to be, right? So as per the to be document, we'll start doing configuration in the system. And what is the role of shadow consultant? So the shadow consult, see, again, as a SAP consultant or as a senior guy, you will be going for that BBP phase wherein you'll gather the requirement and all. and the configurations and all will be either done by you or with the help of your associate or shadow consultant. So they'll not go to on-site and all. They will involve from the third phase. So first phase you will not be involved as a consultant. From second phase you will be involved. And these shadow consultant will involve from third. They'll just configure it. They won't go to the client place or on-site and everything. Okay. They will basically prepare this document. They will do this kind of testing and all, right? So that's all. And then next is explain your total activity in final preparation. So final preparation, as I told, what all activity you do the testing like unit testing, integration testing. Then you give the training to the core user. Then basically what you do that UAT phase, so UAT sign off is taken. Then you after training and everything and the preparation of the documents and all you do. And then in the end, what will happen? That you do the cutover activity wherein you upload the data from non-SAP to the SAP system. So in which server we do cutover activity? So we do basically you move it right from quality to production. So in production basically we do this cutover activity. Next, interview questions on support. So whatever we have seen till now, it was related to SAP methodology. Okay, I mean till last session. Now today's session we have also seen support project, right? So from support project there are some basic question which is asked. Obviously few things will be, you have to be very spontaneous on those, but few things that you can always bank on, like these things will be asked, like what is your support team size? That is one thing. Like how you got knowledge transfer from support client, we have seen, right? So we get it through config document and all. Next, tell me the process, how we'll get the ticket from client. So this we have seen briefly, right? So everything from getting logging the ticket in the ticketing tool, and then acknowledging, and then working in development server, and then fixing it and giving it back to the user to retest and everything, and then they close it. The whole cycle we have seen, right? So you can say the same thing. And then what is SLA? SLA is nothing but service level agreement. So whenever like uh, the client reaches to the support partner, then they will get into a contract basically, or the agreement basically, right? Wherein they will discuss like what is the level of priority and everything, what is the time they should take and consider for each level of priority and everything. And then tell me one critical issue that you have solved for this client. So critical, high priority, and all these things are also asked, so you should be prepared about that. What is your present client business process? So again it depends, like whatever you have configured. So sometime you may have configured some third party, or let's suppose some consignment process contract or whatever, so you have to be ready with that also. What is the ticketing you tool use? So normally I told, right, so most of the big companies they use either ServiceNow or PMC Remedy, and also you can tell the same thing. So next is, did you worked on any change requests? So in if any change request you have worked, you can mention that. What do you mean by escalation? So escalation is nothing but, as I told, right, so 8 hours for, let's suppose, critical. So if it's not resolved within 8 hours or something, then it goes to the next from you to your team lead. So that is called escalation basically. So normal English term also, like it get if something escalated if it's not resolved by you to your senior or superior. So that's all, friend. Now I hope you have got a good clarity till now. See, the whole purpose I'm going, uh, I mean, so all these topics I'm covering before going to the actual configuration and everything, like enterprise structure and screens and everything. Because see, I want you to first get a feel what happens and where you exactly fits in the system. Then what will happen if you'll understand the concept later, you will at least have a better clarity that okay, I'm doing it because of this purpose. I'll be later doing some testing, I will be moving it from development to quality. All these things you should be aware of. So that's why I've directly from the first session I didn't touch the enterprise structure. So I've seen a lot of people, they first session itself they tell what is enterprise structure and all. We'll come to that. We'll see in detail all these controls, customer master, material master, sales document, process, and everything. Lots of fields we'll see, screens we'll see. But then I have started with this because it will give you base. Okay, your base will be strong, then you can definitely work on all those things. So till now we have seen this support project and SAP methodology and the question answer session. So from next session we'll see the enterprise structure, and we'll know the basic of enterprise structure first, and then later we'll see it in the system also. So that's all for today's session, friend. I hope you have liked the session. So please like, share, and subscribe my channel, and I'll meet you in next session. Thank you. Goodbye.